Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome you all to Specialized Journalism course. This course has a course code of GMC 471. This is lecture number 2 and in this lecture we are going to discuss future of journalism. As we have already discussed it in the very first lecture that this course is in the form of the seminar. So again we are following the old pattern that we are producing videos which are in the form of the seminar. I'm Anwar Khan, lecturer journalism and mass communication department, Cohort University of Science and Technology. Discussion points for today's session are that the students would come to know about the possible changes that have taken place in the field of journalism. Well, because we know that technology is evolving in the 21st century, and we know that different softwares, different apps, they are introduced in the print media, in the electronic media, in the social media, which are facilitating the journalists, the editors, the gatekeepers, everyone in the field of journalism. So we are going to discuss that what are the possible changes that have taken place in the field of journalism. Then what happened that another point which is also very important and related to the first point, that the student will come to know that when all these changes have taken place and it has affected the journalism field, so how to survive in the 21st century, what are the tactics or the techniques of surviving in the 21st century, so the students will also come to know about it. And then the guidelines for the students of journalism and mass communication department, that what is necessary for them to survive and to be successful in the 21st century journalism. Our guest speaker for today's session is Mr. Lihaz Ali, who is a senior journalist who has been in the field of journalism for the last 15 years. He has represented several print organizations and several electronic organizations, and he also hosts a program on Mashriq TV. Currently, he is working with Daily Nayi Baat Peshawar as senior reporter, and he is also working as correspondent with AFP. AFP is basically news agency of the France, and AFP stands for Associated France Press. And I'm very much thankful to him that he has given us time to speak to him. And here is the question answer session, and hopefully the students will have a thorough understanding about the topic, which is future of journalism.
If we are going to the studies of the different books, we may say that the last century was the century of ideologies, and this century is the century of changes. The changes that occurred in the last century take 100 years, but the changes that will come may take just a decade, may just a few years. So it is the century of changes, it is the century of microchip. So everywhere we are going to say that the changes are occurred and will be occurred. So if you are going to as a journalist, I am going to say that the dimension of the journalism has been completely changed. Up to the 80s of the last century, the print media was dominating, and then we are going to say that electronic media take a space, and that the electronic media is actually playing a dominating role in Iraq war, in the war against the Taliban, in the war against terror. But in the present decade, we are going to say that it is the medium has been completely changes from print to electronic, and from electronic it comes to the social media. So now this is every person is actually, we can say that he is a citizen journalist. He is having just a cell phone, and he is going to record, and he is going to display it through the social media. He is using the Twitter, he is using the Facebook, he is using the Instagram, and the whole world is actually going to follow it. Earlier there were actors of the red carpet area. They were going to hold the press conferences, but now they are just take a single line and display his tweet or her tweet. Just like Dhoni, earlier you know that in Pakistan many players, they were retired. They did the press conferences, but Dhoni told the world that I am going to retire just in a single line. So actually every person is come to know that he is going to be retired. So now it is actually the centuries of social media. In 80s there were big names in the field of journalism. Then we are going to say that the big journalists, Robert Fisk, Larry Kings, they were playing a dominating role in the electronic media, in the international media. In the Pakistani media scenario, we are going to say that Kamran Khan, Hamid Mir, Umar Chima, they played a role in the print and electronic media. But now every person is a city journalist, and he is going to play the journalist. He is just displaying the video, he is just uploading the video, that the dimension is completely changed. There is a big difference between reporting and journalism. You know that a police muharrar is actually, he is going to report a thing. He is reporting an incident, but he is a reporter. But you know that when we are going to the journalism, so a journalist is having a skill how to report it. And you know that through his skill, his wording, first he writing a story, then sub editor is going to check it, then an editor, and before publishing, even the pastor, the pastor or the man person who is going actually to check the words. But now you know in social media, every person, and especially this live medium journalism, if you are going to abusing themselves, so there is no medium how to edit it. So actually it affects the role of journalism, and for that I'm going to say that actually the field of journalism is changed. We are going to say that the journalists were abused, that they were taking bribes. As you know, in the social media, there were trends against the Hamid Mirs, against Salim Safi, against Umar Chima, and many other journalists. So actually, there is a word has been now attached to the journalism and with the reporters especially. So actually, they take a bad name, but it will take a time. And again, I'm telling you this thing, that if the field of journalism is changed, it needs a regulation. And if we are going to formulate and then regulate it, so we will see that there will be a pure journalism. But at the moment, through social media, there is no journalism. Actually, this is activism, I'm going to say. This social media journalism, I'm going to say that actually it's creating a gap. The senior journalist is having a skill, the skill of journalism, and the younger they are having the skill of technology. So the skill of technology and the skill of journalism, it's creating a big gap. So for filling that gap, you know that in newsroom there is a word. Editor is usually going to use it to kill their story. So it will kill that journalist who is not having the skill of the technology. So every journalist should have a skill of the technology. If he is not having a skill, for example, I am telling you about the BBC. Earlier, the BBC journalist was only for the radio. Then you know that they launched the website, and there was bbcurdu.com. So the radio story was actually going to be published on the website. So every journalist is having now a script, and the script was going to be published. But now their journalist is using the camera. So he will do a story for the radio, he will do a story for the website, and he will do a story for the electronic media, for the BBC website. So every journalist is having, and for that they found many journalists, those who were having no skill of journalism or the skill of the technology. So actually, every institute is going to hire a journalist who is having a skill of technology and a skill of journalism. As per my study, it is a transitional period. And in a transition period, you cannot jump into the conclusion that this thing will be happen. But as a journalist, there will be in future, the future of journalism is bright. We will change the forms from, like Earlier we were doing to file the story in newspaper. And when we were going to file the story in newspaper, so the story was just 400 words, 500 words, 600 words. And you know that like Herald or Newslinks, these type of magazines, actually they're publishing the stories of 3,000 words, 4,000 words. So now I'm going to say that the skill of the long form story, it is coming. The people is actually not going to say that what is going to happening at the moment, but why it is happening at the moment. This thing actually the people are going to concern. Why it is, what is happening, so every person know that what is happening. For example, a bomb blast happened, a road accident is occurred. So actually the people are going to say that it is, but why it is occurred, it is the field of journalism. And there is a big question for the why. Those who answered this why, they will survive. The coming decade, we can say that it will be the journal. It will be the decade of social media. Everything will be happen. The things they are happening in social media. Actually, that will be the incident of the time. But again, I'm telling you that the future journalism, for example, the Jew is actually running a website. The Dawn is actually having a Dawn.com. Tribune is actually having Tribune.com, ExpressTribune.com. So actually they were shifted from print to the website, to the social media. Now how actually they are going to use it? It will be a skill. For example, Siyasat.com. There are many other, we are going to say that the Chaska journalism. So they were having, there is no story, but actually they were going to catch the attention. So this thing will be die. The journalism will survive, but those who are having the skill of journalism, but who are having the skill of technology, their journalism will survive. So for the journalists, they should do the study. They should do more study. They should do more and more study. So if they are doing study, they will be having the background information. They should be aware of the technology. They should be aware of the changing dimension of the technology. He should be or she should be a skillful camera person. She should be a skillful writer, and she or he should be a skillful journalist. So a skillful journalist will survive. A journalist who is having no skill, who is a good writer, but he's having no skill of technology, he will die.